Hi everybody, I'm Rook and welcome to the table. Welcome to Dueling Book here for another Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duel. We have myself in the red. I am dueling Shimakaru at the top, and this duel is made possible by Justice and his Judgement Duel Series number 2 tournament that took place this past weekend. This was on a Sunday, one consecutive tournament, about a 6-hour tournament. But I am going ahead and playing Shimakaru here in a Moth mirror match. That's right, guys. I've switched over to the Dark Moth. I am playing that in this match. This is round 2 of Swiss, I believe, in the tournament. But I wanted to record this match for you guys because a lot of interesting stuff happened here. So I went ahead and went first. I lost the rock, paper, scissors there, but I have 2 back row set, and I used an Allure of Darkness to draw 2 banished Sphere Kribo. Shimakaru coming out with the Night Beam, which is a little rare at this point in time in the format because it's so easy to chain around Night Beam so that Night Beam doesn't work correctly. But being this early in the game, that Night Beam did take out my Zoma. I didn't have an answer there. And now Shimakaru is going to Allure of Darkness, so we are both running Dark Moth, so Allure of Darkness is working very well here. Drawing 2 cards, putting his hand to 5, and now he's going to banish. Banishes the Jinzo. All right, guys. So this is right around, like literally 2 days after Jinzo became legal. We both have Jinzo in our deck, so we saw the banished Jinzo, not the Jinzo. I wanted to see that played so bad. Of course, you want to see Jinzo on the field. Now it's just recently released, but unfortunately that was his dark target for Allure of Darkness, so he's passing it to me here. Me with the 1 back row set. He has a T set and pass. I set another back row here. And I'm going to pass. I'm in no rush. So obviously with Moth, we're waiting for a face-up monster to Parasite. Obviously we don't have one yet. I don't have anything to set in this deck. In particular, I'm running Dekoichis, so that's a good set. But I don't have one in my hand right now. Shimakaru has an Allure of Darkness bluff set that he's going to activate here. So he has tons of dark targets in his hand. That Jinzo would be really scary right now because he has the tribute for it. But he had to banish it last turn. So now we have a banished Eudoria. And keep that back row full. 2 cards in the back row. But of course leave that 1 slot open for the Parasite. And he's going to flip summon a Dekoichi, the Battle Chant Locomotive. Declare the effect to draw a card as Dekoichi's flip effect. So Dekoichi plus Allure of Darkness equals so much draw for the Moth deck, including Cocoon of Alter Evolution's secondary effect where you can shuffle an insect back in your deck and draw. The draw power alone makes this deck fantastic. We have a second Night Beam coming out with Shimakaru. That's going to target the back row that I set turn 1. That was a Nightmare Wheel. Nothing I could do there. Unfortunately, that's going to go through, leaving me with just 1 back row. And let's see if he tries to swing for 14 with Dekoichi. Shimakaru setting another monster here, so no additional tributes. Going to keep Dekoichi out. And now that is a nice face-up monster for me to Parasite if I have the Parasite in my hand. We're going to battle phase 1400 from Dekoichi. Will my back row save me? Do I have a Sphere Kribo, or am I going to take that? I will take that. That drops me down to 2600. That's going to end Shimakaru's turn. End phase Parasite from me, so there was that face-up monster. There's my target. He flipped that Dekoichi, and that was the bait. And I also have an end phase Zoma, so Zoma coming into defense mode as a monster. Alright, so Parasite on Dekoichi, so my main phase should be able to activate Cocoon here and tribute to get a Moth. Moth from the deck as part of Cocoon's effect, and then of course if I have a Moth in my hand, that's Parasite's effect where when it goes to the graveyard I can special summon the Moth from my hand. So ideally we're seeing 2 Moths here. Let's see if it happens. Cocoon goes off. I'm viewing my deck for a perfectly ultimate great Moth. And let's see if I have one in my hand. I do, of course. All good players have both Moths. Flipping Zoma to attack mode, and I'm going super aggressive here. Really, obviously, this is the bread and butter of the Moth deck. This is what you see. This is the scary force here. We have a Dust Tornado on my Zoma. That is going to get rid of Zoma. Good play from Shimakaru there, having the Dust Tornado in the pocket. That was a set Parasite, so we were really looking for some defense there. And then on my attack with Moth, he's got a Zoma in the back row, which is absolutely devastating for me because now next turn he can just spin that into attack mode, take the hit, swing into that Moth, and any Moth, and I'm going to take 35. Unless this card in my hand is a Sphere Kribo, and you know what? I misplayed here so poorly because I didn't activate Cocoon's secondary effect to shuffle that Parasite back into my deck and draw. That would have given me 1 more chance to potentially get a Sphere Kribo or a Nightmare Wheel, something to set or some sort of defense to block what is going to happen here. So this card in my hand has to be my savior or else it's it. But Shimakaru is not going to take any chances here. He's going through the motions with his Cocoon. And will he go right into the battle phase? No, okay, he's going to Parasite my Moth, activate Cocoon, so he's going to get a Moth out of his own. just to be safe. There comes Moth out of the deck. Does he have one in hand? He does not. But one back row and now two back row and going into the battle phase. Gonna most likely swing with Zoma here first, just to bait out the Sphere Kuriboh. I will have to Sphere here. And I do not have it. Yeah, so misplay on my end. I should have done the shuffle and draw. That would have given me another chance to draw Sphere Kuriboh. I run 3 in this deck, so there was a good chance I would have got another one there. Very unfortunate. I just recently switched over to the Moth deck. I've been playing a lot of other sort of burn, Gravekeeper burn I was playing, and really trying to avoid the Moth, but in this particular tournament, I wanted to rack up some wins, so I tried out the Dark Moth. But that was game 1, very close, but Shimaraku taking it over me. Going into game 2, I am done siding. I can tell you that my side deck is essentially, I think it's Twisters over Dust Tornadoes I have, Offerings to Doom, I think Nidoria, if I wanted to run that over a Dekoichi maybe as a set, and I think I have an additional gap in the side deck as well. And DD Crow. DD Crow for Gravekeepers, but an additional gap because I believe the tributes that I have in this deck right now are Gap Jinzo, as opposed to something like 2 Gap. Alright, as we go into game 2, I just wanted to reiterate once again that this duel was brought to you by Justice's Judgement Duel Series number 2 tournament that occurred over the weekend. You can see Justice as a watcher here. He was actually streaming matches that day. This match is also available with his commentary as part of his VOD of the entire tournament. I will link those in the description below. But we see Shimaraku going first. I wanted to go second here. He has a very heavy back row and 1 card left in hand, and he passes turn to me. I have an opening with Allure of Darkness, put lots and lots of cards in my hand, and able to choose a dark target. I'm assuming I have a dark target here to banish, and there's a Dekoichi. That's 1 back row. And pass. 1 back row and pass. Doesn't look like Shimaraku has a Parasite setup here, unless he's now top decking. But it looks like I don't have to be worried about any monsters hitting me in the face just yet. So I have the 1 set card and pass. Of course, this deck can brick. You can draw the Moth. You can draw too many Parasites than you need. So that may be happening here too. But Shimaraku, let's see if he has a monster play. Alright, we have a Night Beam set from Shimaraku. And yeah, that's going to take care of my Nightmare Wheel. We have a set monster, okay. Pretty solid defense here, typical Moth. Moving on to my main phase. And there's another set, that is the card that I just picked up, I believe. And going to pass back to Shimaraku. Very patient game. Always patient with the Moth Mirror match. You know, I will say, being on one side of it playing as Moth, it is a little grindy, but that is what makes it, I think it makes it a little fun. This is the only mirror match that I enjoyed so far, as opposed to like Gravekeepers burning each other, you know. But I'm going to Allure Darkness again. I also like this deck because you draw a lot. That's pretty fun. But banishing a Sphere Kuriboh there, and moving on, let's see if I have a monster. So now Shimaraku with 2 set monsters, 2 set back row, 1 card in hand. Me holding all the cards, 2 back row, and that's a pass. That's a pass for me. No monsters coming from me just yet. And end phase Dust Tornado, Shimaraku targeting the set that I just set. Yeah, that was a Zoma. That would have been pretty helpful for me, but Dust Tornado saying no. So now, main phase 1, Shimaraku, flipping to Koichi the Battle Channel Locomotive, get that card draw, 3 cards in hand. Setting a monster. Full monster spot. Dekoichi swinging. And I will take that. 1400 isn't that much, but now he has a face-up monster, so now I should be able to get the Parasite Paranoid play here in the end phase. Alright, end phase, quick effect. Equip Parasite Paranoid to Dekoichi. So now next turn I'm going to be able to activate Cocoon, and I will be able to get the Moth play out. And this is very important because I would be able to do this before Shimaraku is able to do anything with Moth yet, and he has full monster slots, so it would not be completely efficient for him to try and do something like that. There's Cocoon, Tribute Parasite. Alright, what happens next is one of the reasons why I wanted to record this for you guys. I viewed my deck to realize that I have no insect target. I have none. I have a Parasite Paranoid in the graveyard, and my hand is 2 Moth, 2 Parasite. I have no insect target. I activated Cocoon, the tribute happened, and I don't have an insect. Most Moth decks run 3 Parasite, 2 Moth. So now here we are going back and forth saying, I have no target. He's like, he doesn't believe me. You don't have a single insect in your deck. I do not. 3 Parasite, 2 Moth. He goes on to say, well, then you have 2 Parasite and 2 Moth in your hand? Yep. Yeah, I do. Like, what kind of hand is this? This, like I said, Moth does brick, but this is crazy. This is crazy. My opening hand was almost 3 Parasite, 2 Moth. So now I'm asking if the tribute still happens, because that was an honest question for me. No insect target. Can I activate Cocoon's skill effect and get the tribute off? Like I said, this is, I don't play Moth too often, so recently switching over. So honest question for me. And Shimakuru coming to the consensus that you can't tribute if you don't have an insect target. So I can't use Cocoon's effect. So we are resetting that field. Parasite goes back onto Koichi, but I have no play here. I have absolutely no play with this brick of a hand. I go ahead and set a Parasite there as a bluff. Set a Parasite as a bluff. He knows what my hand is. I was honest with him. I'm going to go back to hide hand here. But we, yeah, so Shimakuru should know that that's a Parasite, so should be able to clear over it. But the thing about this is that there is an out here. And the reason being is because if he clears over that Parasite that's set, then I can activate Cocoon's secondary effect to shuffle it back into the deck, and then I have an insect target. Typically, you don't want to get a Parasite Paranoid out as your special summon from the deck, but it'll allow me to get the Parasite in my spell and trap off the field so I can get a Moth from my hand out, and that's a good start. Alright, Shimakuru is saying in chat, if this set is an Midoriya, you can summon Moth. True, but he should know that my hand is 2 Moth through Parasite. Alright, Shimakuru electing not to set any additional back row, and with full monsters in all 3 slots, he's going right into battle phase. He's going to try and beat over this monster, and that is my set Parasite. So that opens the door up for me next turn to get the shuffle, and then I have an insect target for Cocoon. So there's Cocoon, using the secondary effect to shuffle Parasite into my deck. Now, if I drew Parasite from this shuffle, then that would be the worst luck imaginable, because now I don't have an insect target anymore. But there's the shuffle and draw. Yeah, and Shimakuru helping me out too, saying now you have target. There we go. There is the tribute Cocoon's primary effect, and I'm able to get a Parasite Paranoid out. Luckily, I did not draw it. Get it out as my special summon, and then with Parasite leaving the field and the spell trap, there's Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. So now I have some manpower here to start clearing these monsters and start breaking into my opponent's life points. And my Cocoon skill is exhausted. I did not normal summon this turn, and what a great draw that top deck must have been, because I tribute the Parasite for Gap the Divine Soldier, flipping both monsters into attack mode, and they're both set Parasites. Holy cow, we both drew a lot of Parasites. Like, oh my gosh, these hands are weird. But Gap, the saving grace here, putting both Parasites into attack mode, he's got to have some defense in the hand. He's got to have a Nightmare Wheel set. He's got to have some Sphere Karibos, because I can blast through these. Moth swinging into one of these is 3,000. Gap's going to swing into a Parasite right now, starting with Gap. That looks like it's going to go through. That would be a 1,700 life point loss for Shimakuru. And that's going to happen. That is going to happen. So now he has to have a Sphere Karibo or a Nightmare Wheel here, or this is going to be 3,000, and that's going to be the game. Goes to the grave. That's it. I did not deserve that win at all. At all. Unbelievable how many Parasites we drew, and just weird Moth play right there. Yeah, I did not deserve that at all. That's why I wanted to record this one in particular, because that was wild. I've never seen a hand. I've done a lot of these commentaries with like Cursive in his tournament. We've seen a lot of Moths. Have not seen anything like that. The one time I try and play this deck, it's odd. It's so weird. Of course it's weird. But we're going into game 3. So Shimakuru won game 1, and I somehow squeaked out that game 2 win. All right, going into game 3. I will be going first this time, as Shimakuru just lost. My main phase is going to set a monster. Okay, that's good. I got a monster to set in my opening hand. That's pretty good for the Moth deck. Going to Shimakaru. Shimakaru with 1 back row, 2 back row, and a set monster. Also good play, good openings on both sides. And he's going to pass it back to me. My main phase. Flip up to Koichi the Battle Chant Locomotive. There we go. Let's get a card draw. And I have a tribute for Gap the Divine Soldier. Really good opening hand. Gap flips up to Koichi. Gap's effect says flip effects are not activated, so Shimakaru cannot get the card draw from Koichi, and then bingo, there's my face-up monster on my opponent's side of the field. I have the Parasite in my hand. There's the Cocoon activating. I'm going to go ahead and search to special summon a perfectly ultimate great Moth. And with Parasite leaving the field, I can put one out from my hand if I have one, and I do. This is ideally, this is like the best Moth play right here. Is Gap forcing your opponent's monsters to show themselves and then parasiting them. And of course I get the shuffle from Cocoon. So I've completely exhausted my Cocoon skill using it to special summon my Moths, and I get the shuffle in, the Parasite, and card draw. So 3 cards in hand and a devastating field. I'm going to go ahead and set 2 back row. And battle phase. This is gonna hurt. 2200 from Gap. Let's see what his back row are. He's going to take that 22. So now we are 1 Moth swing away from the win. Okay, he's got a Zoma here. Zoma actually going to stay in attack mode because of Gap the Divine Soldier's effect. All monsters are going to be in face-up attack position. So now I decided I had to stop there and decide if I wanted to take the 3500 because it'll hurt me for my Moth's attack. I decided that I'm going to take that risk. In my battle phase, as I swing into Zoma, he equips his own Parasite to his Zoma. And the reason for that is because Zoma is going to die and Parasite is going to leave the field as well, allowing him to special summon a Moth if he has one. And there he does. He has one. He took 1700 from that exchange because Zoma had to be in attack mode. That drops Shimakaru all the way down to 100 life points. And here I was like, I thought Zoma was in defense. He comes in defense. But I realized that I have Gap the Divine Soldier out, so it'll stay in attack. So he actually takes life point damage from that. And I take the 3500. Huge risk beating over a Zoma with a Moth, but I am going for the game. I was going for the game. These Moths will crash, but if that back row is a Nightmare Wheel, I'm toast. It's over. He's got 1 turn to pull out the win here. And it was a Dust Tornado in the back row, getting rid of, I had an Allure of Darkness set as a bluff. So now, top deck, Shimakaru, he also has the Cocoon to use the secondary effect to shuffle a Parasite back into his deck and get a draw. So he has a chance here. He's looking to draw another Parasite to get another Moth out because he did get a Moth out from Parasite Paranoid's effect, but he did not get one out from Cocoon's effect. So he's got Allure of Darkness. Wow, a lot of chances. That's a good thing about this deck. That's what makes it so good, is that you get all these second chances to draw. Banish a Newdoria, so he had a dark target, left with 2 cards in hand. Normal summon a Newdoria, which is telling me that that is going to be it for him. He couldn't set it if he wanted to because of Gap the Divine Soldier. Because that would have been pretty good. If it wasn't Gap on the field, one would have swung into Newdoria, the other one would have been destroyed by Newdoria's effect. I'm going to go ahead and just play it out. I have an Allure of Darkness banishing a Sphere Karibo, but even if his card in hand is a Sphere Karibo, one of these will beat him over for the last 100 life points. Set up back row, battle phase. Going in with the Moth for the game. And that's it. So that was me taking it over Shimakaru in Justice's Judgement Duel Series number 2. That took place on August 1st, which was a Saturday. The first day that Jinzo was legal. Unfortunately, we did not see a Jinzo here. The only Jinzo we saw was banished. But it was a good tournament. Highly recommend the next one. He does great work over there. I will put his links in the description below, and I hope you guys took something away from this match. I'm not saying that I've completely crossed over to the Moth, but I might be playing some more Moth. We'll see. We'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please feel free to hit the like button and, of course, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you later. See ya.